Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. You will continue our lab Terminator labs, the video number 46. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been working now for 24 videos on how to deploy Windows 10 using the latest Microsoft deployment toolkit in addition or with the help of the WDS. We have discussed a lot of things concerning this process. We have reached uh, one of the most important things that can be done uh, using the MDT and WS, something or a process called zero touch installation, which is a fully automated deployment process. No user interaction is needed. We have discussed to do this process we need to uh, create an MDT database. This database will act like an answer file that will help to fully automate the deployment process. And not only the MDT database will act as an answer file, the custom setting.ini is also a second answer file that will help to complete this automation process. So this is one of the most important things you can do with the MDT, because this process, for example, can be used to deploy or to automate the deployment of a lot of PCs or laptops. For example, if you are in an HP factory and you need to install a lot of operating systems with their programs or with their associated programs, for example, with HP associated programs, you need to install them on a large number of HP laptops at once without having a lot of stuff to do that. We all know if you need to install a Windows operating system on a PC on a laptop, you need to insert the operating system DVD or USB and then begin partitioning the hard disk of the laptop and then formatting it and then installing the operating system and then installing the applications. All of this will need experienced stuffs or experience IT stuff, a lot of them. So this is not available most of the time. So this automation process can help HP factory, for example, to install a lot of operating systems and applications uh, in very fast way and very automated way. So the previous video we have created the MDT database, we have created the rules that will be used on this database, something called database rules, and we have this database up and running. So now in this video, what we need to do, we need to create a virtual machine and then take the network card MAC address and insert it in the MDT database, because this MAC address will be the identifier for this virtual machine. So we all know that all of the virtual machines, or all of the PCs that you need to deploy on it, in our example Windows Server 2022 standard edition with its programs. So we have an image of Windows Server 2022 standard edition with some programs installed on it like PowerShell and CMTrace. We have this operating system and these applications, we have an image of it. We need to deploy it or to to fully automate the deployment of this image. So to do that, we need to identify the PC. So the database need to identify the PC. How this can be done? The PC doesn't have any name, doesn't have any operating system on it. So how the database can know that this PC in a specific needs the Windows Server image, or it needs another image? It will be done using the MAC address. The MAC address will be its identifier, or you can use the serial number of the motherboard as an identifier, or you can use something called universal unique identifier. This also can be used as an identifier. All of this data can be extracted using PowerShell scripts. So I will show you two scripts that can do that, but today we will create a virtual machine. We will take the MAC address of this virtual machine and insert it in the database and then associate certain configuration with this MAC address. So for example, we need this MAC address of this network card for this virtual machine to take a certain computer name. We need it to execute a certain MDT task. We need certain applications to be installed on it. So we need a lot of things, or we will build some configuration based on the identifier, which is the network card MAC address. So let's go and see how this can be done. If we return to our uh, steps, Daniel Brother Barbaris, we are currently in this step. We need to deploy Windows Server 2022 Standard Edition image. Okay, we have seen before in previous videos, we have captured an image of Windows Server 2022 Standard Edition with all of its programs, as I have said before. So let's see how we can proceed with the zero touch installation process. Now we need to create a virtual machine and configure it, and take the network card MAC address and insert it in the database. Before that, I need to show you all something here. This is two scripts. Okay, this script will make a hardware inventory for all of your PCs. If you have a PCs in a domain, you can run this script on all of these PCs and get an Excel sheet with the hardware inventory of all of these PCs in an Excel sheet. This will gather the IP address of the machine, the MAC address of the machine, the serial number of the machine, the model, the CPU, the RAM, the storage, and in addition to the three things we need in the zero touch installation, the serial number of the motherboard, the network card MAC address, and the unique identifier, or universal unique identifier. So for example, you can put this in a network share in your domain, or on your domain network, and then automate the running of this script on all of your PCs and servers. So for example, let me show you all what is the result if we run this script. By the way, this script has two versions. One version will run on PowerShell 5 and the other will run on PowerShell 7. So I will show you all these two how they will run. Okay, so first of all, we can go and run this script from PowerShell 5. By the way, it is on my D partition, so let's go to my D partition. Okay, like this, and then CD. This is I have it in a folder named PowerShell PC Inventory Master. Then dir. Okay, here this is just a moment, guys. So here this is we will run this PowerShell. This is update one. This is the one that we run on PowerShell 5. And how we can know this is PowerShell 5? We can simply make like that, PS version. Okay, this will give us the version of the PowerShell. So now we will run this script by making like that, and then try to get, sorry guys, we need to run the PowerShell PWOR, and then do like this, and try to tab until we get this PC power updated one. So this is the PowerShell script. By the way, this is not my script. This is a script done by another user. I don't know actually the user, but I got it from a YouTube channel. So this is his script, and I have tweaked it a couple of times. Okay, so let's see what will be the data that this script will gather. If you go like that and then press enter and do like that, so we can see this is the data. First of all, it is displayed on the screen, and then we will see it in CSV file. We can see here this is the date of the collection, the IP address, the host name, the MAC address, which is will be very useful in our zero touch installation, the user that is currently running this script on this PC, the type of the PC, if it's a notebook or a server or so and so, the serial number of the motherboard, which is very crucial. This is it, and then the universally unique identifier. So this 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3. MAC address, serial number, identifier. This can be collected using this script, so you can use it to collect this data and then help you in your zero touch installation process. This is the manufacturer, which is Lenovo, the model of the laptop. This is the CPU, okay, and this is the RAM. I have 8 gigabyte of RAM. The total storage I have of 500 gigabyte total storage. The CPU I have the GPU, or graphical, I think this is for the display chipist. Okay, I have two display cards. One is Intel and one is NVIDIA. And the OS, this is Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC, and this is the version. And then monitors, if you have any monitor, it will get the serial number of it. And this, I have one RAM, 8 gigabytes. It is Samsung, and this is the serial number of it. So this is a very, very useful one. It can make a total inventory or total hardware inventory. If you have more than one RAM, then the hard disk, I have only one hard disk, and this is it, and this is the model, and this is the serial number. So we can see this is a very, very good script. If we go and try to see this in an Excel sheet, so let me show you all. If you open like that and open this one and open this one, here is the inventory CSV file. So all of the data displayed in the script, now it is written, as you can see here, it is written in a CSV file. You can use it. Okay, so this is it. Here it is, all of the data that was displayed in the PowerShell window. It is already written in a text file. Okay, so this is good for your inventory documentation. Okay, so this is a good one. If we can tell him do not save, and we can now try to run the same script but another version. This version updated 2 will run on the PowerShell 7. If we try to run this script on PowerShell 7, it will not work. Okay, so let's go and see if we can run the other script on PowerShell 7. If we go like that and go to the PowerShell 7, then we can confirm it is PowerShell 7. Let's go like that and do that. PS stable version. Okay, just a moment. Okay, here this is PowerShell 7. Now we can cd. Okay, okay, again, if we can try, because I have already accessed this before. Okay, first we need to go to the D partition because it is in there. Okay, we need to make cd d PowerShell 7 or PowerShell master. Then if we make a dir, and then we can try to get just a moment, we need to get the PowerShell script, PowerShell not updated one, we need updated 2. Okay, so let's see the data that will be collected. Again, we can see successfully the data, the same data, and it is running on PowerShell 7. By the way, the difference between the two scripts, that there is a certain commandlet that is not working with PowerShell 5 anymore, and it runs on PowerShell 7. So the command that will collect this data is something called CIM instant. To get all of this data, you will use a command called get CIM instant. Okay, as in PowerShell 7. In PowerShell 5, you run a command called get WIM object. So these are two different commandlets that will get the same data. Get WIM works on PowerShell 5 and doesn't work on PowerShell 7. Get CIM instant work on PowerShell 7 and does not work on PowerShell 5. So this is basically the two scripts. So you can use it to collect the data that you need before beginning your zero touch installation process. So this is one thing to note. I will just close these two, and let's go now and begin our lab. Today we need to configure a virtual machine and begin inserting the network card MAC address in our MDT database. So now we will create a new virtual machine. Okay, and then we will put the name, we will make it server test, and then we will choose the operating system. Okay, it is Windows 2022 64-bit. In unattended installation you can uh, semi-automate the process of if you are using a normal Windows ISO image. This option can help you. So for example, it will create a username, or the VirtualBox can create a username and the password, local username on this Windows operating system, okay, and product key and host name. So this will automate or semi-automate the process of the installation of the normal Windows, okay, the normal operating system image, or normal operating system. This if you are not applying or if you are not booting from the network. For example, if you are creating a virtual machine and inserting the Windows server, for example, ISO image, this can help you to automate some of the process of the installation. Okay, so now we will create the hardware we need. By the way, we need to make sure that we are enabling EFI, or we are using UFI BIOS or UFI firmware, okay, because most of the new PCs and servers now are working with firmware UFI, okay, so this should be selected always. Okay, so let's continue and see. So here we will make two hard disks. By the way, you know that I have already in my Windows Server deployment task sequence, I have already uh, uh, configured to partition and format two hard disks. Okay, so we have the first hard disk. This is 300 gigabyte. So we have 300 gigabyte. Now we need to change the setting. We need to add an additional hard disk. Okay, so now we can go and see, this is are all of the fields, and then we need to make sure it will boot, the boot order. We need to make sure it will boot from network, or this is selected in the boot order. Okay, and need to enable secure boot. So these are two important options. You need to have a UFI. If we return back like this, you need to have that this UFI firmware enabled, and to enable secure boot. This will secure the firmware. Okay, so these are two basic options that you need to always select when you create a virtual machine. And by the way, you need to make sure all of your PCs that their firmware are UFI and a secure boot is enabled. Okay, so we need to continue. Okay, the processor, everything. Now we need to go to the display. If for any reason the graphical controller VBox Super Vega is making problems with you, sometimes I have some problems that the screen is hanging. Okay, not the virtual machine is hanging, the screen is corrupted or not working perfectly. This is because of the graphics controller. If the VBox Super Vega is not working with you perfectly, you can choose VBox Normal Vega, okay, or VBox Vega. Okay, so this is one thing to make sure, okay, or to make to solve some problems with the display card in the virtual machine. Now we can see the storage. You have already one hard disk. We need to add another one. Okay, so I need to add another one, and it's on the port 0. Remember that in my deployment task, I have the first hard disk that I need to format. It's on port 1, or in on ID ID 0, and the second hard disk is in on ID 1. So this should match what is in the task. So in the task I have the two hard disks. One is on ID 0 and the other is on ID 1. We need to make sure the first hard disk is on ID 0 or port 0, and the other hard disk is on ID 1. Okay, and we can mark this is as a solid state drive, so you can choose the configuration you need. Okay, this is not, we don't need to add a controller, we need to add an additional hard disk. We will see that in a moment. So this is the network. We need to attach it to our domain network, NAT network, and then we will get the MAC address from this section. Okay, so now we have everything working, but still we didn't add. We need to add an additional hard disk. Remember, you can see here, this is on port 0, on ID 0, the first hard disk, and the DVD is on ID 1. So we need our second hard disk to have this port attached to it. We will give the DVD port 2, okay, so we can match this setting with the Windows Server task sequence. Okay, so let's go and change that. So here we'll add another hard disk. This will be 50 gigabyte. So we'll create, okay, and by the way guys, the inventory script or hardware inventory script, I will leave it in a Google Drive link. Here we can see that here this second hard disk, it is on port 2 or ID 2, and the DVD-ROM is on ID 1 or port 1. We need to flip. The DVD will be port 2 and the second hard disk will be port 1. So now I can give this as 3 and then we'll give that as 1. Okay, so this is 0 and then this will be 1. Okay, and then the DVD can be taken 2, for example, or any other thing. Okay, so now we have the data running, or we have the virtual machine ready. Okay, we need to take the network card MAC address and insert it in the MDT database. Remember, by the way, that there is a MAC filter in the DHCP. You need to insert this MAC address in the DHCP, allow MAC filter, so it can take an IP address from the DHCP. This is very, very, very important because I have MAC filter on the DHCP. Okay, so let's get the MAC address. Here we can get advanced, and then here is the MAC address. Copy it and then we will insert it in the database. So we will go and go to our MDT server and go to the computers section in the database and try to create a new entry. But here we will have an error that will appear because this error is related to some permissions. Okay, let me show you the error that is appearing here. It will take some time until it appears. So still the error didn't appear. Here you go. This is an error saying that you don't have sufficient database permissions. There is already an open data read associated with the command, which must be closed first. So I have here read permissions on the MDT database. I need to have full control of the database so I can create entries in it. So we need to go to the SQL Management Studio and see the permissions on the MDT database and see what is my role on it. There is something called database roles. We need to see what is my role on the database and what is my permissions on it. So this was the error related to this step. And by the way, I have myself, or on SQL, I am a member of something called SQL Admins Active Directory Security Group. This should have full control over any database, but for some reason it was not, or these permissions are not attached to the MDT database. So let's go and try to fix this error. So let me pass it real quickly for you guys. Here, let me go, and this is the same error appearing. We need to open the SQL Management Studio and then begin seeing what is the problem. And we can have a little bit of a discussion about what is the database roles. Okay, there is some roles. These roles are uh, let's see, it is like some pre-made permissions. So if you are a member of a certain database role, this will give you some built-in permissions or some ready-made permissions. Okay, we will see that in a moment and see what is a server role or what is a database role and what is something called user mapping. Let's see exactly what I'm talking about, and we will see now. First of all, I'm seeing my logins here. I'm trying to see myself what are my permissions. I am a member of the SQL admins, and this should have full control over any database. So let's see first what is the permissions. If you double click on it, by the way, the user Keraof is a member of this uh, Active Directory, this group. Okay, so let's open this one and see what is the problem exactly. Here we have, or let me check and see here. As for the server role, we can see that there is some server role is used to grant server-wide security privileges to the user. So by clicking one of these server role, okay, this will give you permissions on the SQL management. I think the SQL instant as a whole. Okay, so this there is a lot of things. This can be bulk admin, DB creator, disk admin, process admin, public, security admin, server admin, setup admin. The most important one of them is sysadmin. This is the most one that has permissions, but we can have a little bit of a brief about each one of these. Okay, we can go to the AI and try to ask it some questions about this. Okay, so here I'm going to explain the login properties in the section of server roles and mapping in simple trying to tell him explain what is the section of server roles and user mapping. These are two things in this section. Okay, so I will ask Copilot because uh, I asked Claude and Google Bar didn't give me a correct answer or a semi-correct answer. So let's go and ask Copilot because it will provide us with a correct answer, or it will provide us with the answer and the links to the answer where he got this answer. Okay, okay, so here he is explaining each thing. What is this? What is the server role? Okay, he's saying here a server role in SQL. Let's see here. A server role in SQL Server are like groups that help you manage permissions on the server. These roles can be fixed, predefined by SQL Server or user-defined. When a login is created, it can be assigned one or more server roles. Each member of a fixed server role can add other logins to that same role. Anyway, this is some permissions if he's saying that. I will ask it to explain further what are the server roles. User mapping. User mapping is the process of associating a server login with a specific database. So you can have on different databases different permissions, or you are associating, or a user can have a permissions on a certain database different than another database. So for example, my user can have full control over a certain database and the read permission on another database. Okay, so let's tell him to explain server roles in simple terms, and then we can have a little bit of a brief about each one of these roles that we have seen here. For example, what is the bulk admin, the DB creator, disk admin, all of these. Here is not getting the answer that I need. Explain different server roles. We give him roles. For example, like bulk admin. Okay, let's see if you can get uh, the others. Bulk admin. Okay, now he is answering, or he's giving us the answer that we need. So you need with the AI to be very specific to give you the correct answer that you need. So let's see now what are these roles. Okay, so we have 7 roles. Let me see if there are 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There is more than 9. Okay, let's see the most. I think he is not giving public and sysadmin, but let's go and see uh, most of these. Okay, so we have for example, sysadmin. Members of the sysadmin fixed server role can perform any activity on the server. This is the highest permissions on the SQL server. Okay, bulk admin. Members of bulk admin fixed role can run the bulk insert statement. This was like warehouse manager who can accept large deliveries of data into the server. Bulk insert, you can insert a bulk of entries in any database. Bulk, for example, running a script to insert a bulk of data in different databases. Okay, disk admin. The disk admin fixed server role is used for managing disk files. Okay, we can see if you want to read more, you can go to the link describing this disk admin. I think this is related to the database on the hard disk. Okay, process admin. The process admin fixed server role can determine processes that are running in an instance of a SQL server. So this is like the task manager, but not listing the activity on the Windows, but the activity on the SQL database, and you can end processes on the SQL database. For example, a user connecting to a certain database and so. Process admin. DB creator. Members of the DB creator fixed role can create, alter, drop, and restore database. Very, very simple. Security admin. The admin fixed server role manages logins and their properties. They can grant, deny, and revoke server level permission. They can also grant, deny, and revoke database level permissions if they access to database. So this is related to the logins of the users. Okay, or login permissions. Server admin. The server admin can set configuration options on the server and shut it down. Okay, so this is 7. He didn't explain the public. I think the public is the least one of them. Okay, I think you maybe public is like read permissions maybe. And he didn't explain the setup admin. What is the setup admin and public? Let's see. What about, okay, setup admin and public. Okay, and you can see more about each one of these roles in a specific, or we can see that here the problem was not with the server roles because I have full control, I have full permissions. The problem was with the user mapping. My user was not associated with the MDT database, or it is associated with the MDT database, but it was not given full permissions on this database. This we can alter from the user mapping section, and we will see a discussion, or we will ask the AI about what is the user mapping section. Okay, so let's go and see what was the answer here. Setup admin. Members of this role can add and revoke linked servers by using transact SQL stem. This role is like network administrator who can connect or disconnect other servers from the SQL server. So it is related to linking servers, or linking different servers to the SQL database. Okay, so this is related to, I think, connections maybe in this. This role like a network administrator can connect or disconnect other servers from the SQL server. Anyway, the public belongs to the public server. When a server principal hasn't been granted or denied specific permissions on a secureable object, the user inherits the permission granted to the public on that object. Only Assign public permissions on any object when you want the object to be available to all users. So this is basically like a read permission. This role is like a general group in an organization where everyone is a member and have basic rights. So that's it. So let's tell him to explain user user mapping. Explain user mapping. Let's see the user mapping session. Okay, here is giving an example, okay, about the user or about the user mapping. Here he's saying that, for example, if you have a login named John and as database sales, you can map John to a user in the sales database. Then whenever John logs into SQL Server, he will have access to the sales database with whatever permissions you assign to him. Assigning a certain user to a certain database with certain permissions. We need to explain the user mapping. Okay, explain. Let me see here. First of all, we need to go and get the user mapping permissions. So now here I'm giving myself all of the permissions. So here I'm trying to or will select all of the permissions, even though I don't need that because I have already the most powerful one of them. Okay, so this was my initial troubleshooting. And then if we go to the user mapping session, we will see that it will list all of the databases, and each database, so you can see here, for example, we have all of these databases. Every database will have certain permissions. Okay, database role membership for this master. Let's ask it to uh, explain user mapping database. What is it? Database role membership permissions. Okay, membership permissions. Okay, let's see, and uh, let's see the roles, or let's see the permissions, because here, for example, we can see that there is a database admin or DB access admin, DB backup operator. So every one of these will have certain permission. One, for example, to backup, this is clearly what the name stated, backup. Read and write. You can deny read or write. Owner, database owner, this is the highest one of them. DB security and public. So let's see what are the permissions here. Let's see. He didn't get me the correct answer I need. Let's see how we can make it answer or give us the answer that we need. So if we go, for example, here, no, he didn't give me the answer I need. Let's copy like that and tell him like db underscore owner. Okay, this is so let's see here what will be the answer. He is explaining user mapping again, and then I need to explain the permissions. Okay, so he will explain the database role membership. Okay, let's see, list the other permissions. So let's go and see here what is the answer. Database role membership. When you click the user mapping or assign database role in the database to a user, like giving the login permissions in the database. Let's see here. DB owner, for example, can perform all configuration and maintenance activities on database. It can also drop the database. This is role like being the owner of the shop, where you have the keys to the shop and can manage everything inside the shop. Okay, so let's see what are the other permissions. Okay, here we will begin listing it. DB security admin. What can it do? It can potentially elevate privileges and their actions should be monitored. Privileging action, he means here manage permissions. Okay, so this is managing the permissions on the database. Okay, DB access admin, it can add or remove access to database for Windows logins. So this can add a certain or remove a certain login, but the permissions are assigned by the DB security admin. Okay, DB read. Okay, this is basically can read all data from all user tables or from all databases, from all tables in a certain database. Okay, so DB write, it can change, can add or delete or change. DB DLL admin, this is data definition language. I don't know what that exactly means, but you can read it from the link. Okay, this is the link that contains all of this data. DB backup operator, it can back up a database and I think it can restore, by the way. Deny, it will cannot read, you cannot read. Deny read and deny modifying or changing. What is deny write? Remember, these permissions are user defined. Is there any other things that are missed here? So DB owner, okay, so I have listed all of them. So we can see here that these are all of the permissions for the database. Okay, so you have permissions on the SQL instance and permissions on the database itself. So the permissions on the server, it's the server roles. The permissions on the server or the SQL Server instance, this is done by the server roles section. As for the database permissions, it is done in the user mapping section. Okay, so this is very good. We need now to go and continue. You will see here that on my MDT DDB database, I don't have permissions. I have only the public permission. By the way, it didn't describe public, but I think public, it's like read permissions. Okay, so we can ask it about what about public? What about public permission? So we can ask it public role permission. This is not for the SQL Server role, by the way. Okay, I think this is clearly defined, or we don't need to see this or to ask this now. I'm here checking everything, by the way. I didn't know where to begin, but now we can, or here I will give myself all of these roles. By the way, this was not the solution, okay, but here I was just troubleshooting first. Okay, so now we have done all of these. So now it's executing. Here I have given myself all of the permissions, but still we need to, this was not the solution. The solution was to go to the user mapping and begin or to add here the user mapping, and then we need to go to the MDT-DB, this is the one. Okay, as we can see here, these are all the databases in the SQL Server instance. We can see that I have public only permission. So I need to give myself all, or to be at least the DB owner, so I can do all of the processes I need. Anyway, I will select all of these. Okay, so I am selecting the different databases, and I give myself full permissions on all of these databases. Okay, so we will select all of them, but no, not select all of them. We need not to select deny or read. I will be the DB owner. This is the most one of them. I can give me myself DB access, backup operator, data read and write, DDLL admin, except these two. Okay, so we can select all of the permissions, data read, so I can do everything. Okay, except deny. Okay, so we will leave these two, and even I can check DB security admin. I will give myself all of the permissions except the deny, read, and write, and all of the databases. But you can specify only the MDT database because this is the one that you are concerned with. So now if we try again and see if this error will appear, it should not appear. Okay, if I try again here, I'm trying to check if I have permissions on the database. Here, yes, I have permissions on the database. So basically everything is working. Now we need to again go and create our first entry in the MDT database in the computer section. Now we can close the SQL Management Studio. Now we can open the deployment kit or the Microsoft deployment toolkit. Okay, you can open the benchmark. Okay, right click new. Okay, if we wait for a couple of seconds or make a refresh, again right click and new. I was a little bit in a hurry, but if you wait for a couple of seconds, now we can add an entry. Okay, here we need to put a description for this entry. For example, this is the server test PC. Okay, the asset tag here you can verify or put the asset tag here. This is different than the serial number of the motherboard. This is called an asset tag. Okay, this we can ask the AI about what is an asset tag. We will ask it in a couple of seconds. UUID, serial number, MAC address. Okay, I have said before that there is a script that you can do to make this or the hardware inventory, but uh, let me show you if you need a specific or if you don't need all of this data in the hardware inventory, what is the command to get the UUID, serial number, and MAC address. Let me show you all of these, or let me show you how you can do that exactly. If we go to the PowerShell 7, okay, here you go, and then I will run both on PowerShell 7 and PowerShell 5. If you do like that, okay, let me do like this, and then open my commands or open my here you go. This is let me get or let me show you all. We need to get first of all the serial number of the motherboard. This is the command. Just a moment. Okay, this is the serial for the motherboard. If we try to run this on PowerShell 5, here is the serial number. If we try to run it on PowerShell 7, here we will see that it will give us an error. This is not a recognized commandlet. So what is the commandlet that will work on the PowerShell 7? Here it is, guys. It is cm instant, not get wim object. Just a moment. Like that, copy, and then do like that here and paste. Here we go. This is the serial number of the motherboard. Okay, so let's get another command, or let's try another command to get the let's see the MAC address. Just a moment. Here is the command to get the MAC address. Okay, copy, and let's run it on the PowerShell 5. Here is the MAC address. Okay, if we try uh, to get the command for the MAC address on PowerShell 7, we will only change the get vim and change it with the get instant. Okay, okay, right click and copy, and then let's run it on PowerShell 7 like that and press enter. Here is the MAC address. The last one, it is the UUID. Just a moment. Where is the UUID? Here we go. This is on the PowerShell 7, and we will run that on the PowerShell 5. If you go like that and press enter, here is the UUID. We can go and see that from here. Right click and copy, and then we will run this on PowerShell 5 like that. So here you go. This is all the info that you need. You can get the MAC address, the UUID, and the serial number of the motherboard. Okay, and we have said there is the get vim object is not working on PowerShell 7. You need to replace it with this command, which is get CIM instant. Okay, so let's close both of these and close that, and let's continue. Here, if we go and continue our video, so here we need another thing. What is asset tag? What is UUID? What is the serial number? What is the MAC address? If we try to ask Claude here, I asked it a certain question. Let's see for a moment, or let's wait for a moment. Here we can, okay, explain the UUID, asset tag, and serial number and MAC address in database MDT. UUID, Universal Unique Identifier, it is assigned to each computer system that identifies it globally, generated from hardware details during manufacturing, stored in WMI and BIOS, or the firmware. MDT gather is during deployment to uniquely identify systems. Asset tag assigned by organization to track inventory manually configured on devices or provided during imaging, helps identifying and tie them to inventory and asset management. Asset tag also can be inserted in the BIOS, by the way. Serial number uniquely identifies the device hardware configuration tied to the model, manufacturer, or production details. Gathers MDT gather it. Okay, this is the serial number of the motherboard, but is not identified correctly. MAC address, the unique network hardware address assigned to the NIC or network interface card used for network identification and troubleshooting. MDT records it to help you unknown system identification. So in summary, provide various means to uniquely identify devices. This is the one thing that we need, because MDT will identify these devices by these three things. MDT records them in database to enable better tracking, identification, inventory, or during deployment. So let's ask the same question to Google Bard here and see what will be the answer. If you go like that and ask it, explain like this. And let's also ask Copilot here. Okay, here he is asking, or he's saying that UUID is a 128-bit value that is granted to unique access across space and time. This means there is no two UIDs will be the same. Okay. They are generated different computers or at different times. Identify computer hardware and software. Okay, in MDT, uniquely identified computer in database. Okay, that's it. Asset tag, the physical label, okay, that tracks the asset serial number, so and so. This tag is stored in additional serial number assigned to a piece of equipment, but this is not the serial number in itself. This is for the motherboard. Okay, MAC address, we all know the MAC address. So he's giving us an example here. This is the UID, the tag, serial number, MAC address. But this is not a very correct answer as for Claude. Let's see what Copilot has to say about it. So here is saying this is the most correct answer of one of them. UID is a unique universally identifier. It is a unique identifier that associates with the hardware of the computer. It is used by the MDT database to identify a specific machine. Asset tag is a unique identifier that is often physically attached to the machine. Typically, it's a barcode or RFID tag. In the database, you can use the tag to identify a machine. This way to automatically set the computer name during deployment. This you can get it from the motherboard, by the way. Serial number, it's unique hardware. Okay, this is for the motherboard. The MAC address. But I think here that I have already tried to make a script, or I asked to get the asset tag here. For example, this is how you can get the asset tag. Let me see, or let me show you all. I think this is different than the serial number of the motherboard. So if I copy this, let's see if we tell him, let's copy this script and try to make it through the PowerShell 7. If you go like that and tell him yes, and then try to make like that and press enter, no asset tag. Okay, so it can't get my asset tag here. The same can be done for the PowerShell 5, but we will change get instant to get Vim object. Okay, so let's see here, we can get Vim object. Okay, anyway, so you can get the asset tag by changing this script. So if you go like this here and try to make like that, okay, like that, and try to make like that and get like this, there is no asset tag. Okay, you can change it from get instant to get WMI object. So let's go there and tell him to change get okay WMI object. Okay, and let's go and try to run the command. Okay, so we can do like this and press enter, nothing. Anyway, so there is no asset tag here. So this is the explanation, or every for every one of these. Let me just stand or wait for, or just wait for a moment, guys. I need just to step on something here. Just let's go there, continue. Okay, this is another script to get the manufacturer. Okay, the Eurotouch installation. So let's go and continue our our video. Let's go like that, and then we'll put the MAC address. Remember, to put the MAC address, you need to put between, after two characters, you need to put double or dot and dot like this, because this is how it is typed. Okay, and by the way, there is no VV here. So here we can see this is the format. You need to type it in this way. Okay, so here there is no VV. So I will go again and check the MAC address, because this is an invalid. He's saying this is an invalid format, because actually these are two additional. This is not the real MAC address. If you go to the MAC address, okay, and open that, there is no VV at the end, okay. So now we have our identifier. Now we can fill in the spaces, okay. We can put in the section of details, we can put the computer name, and in the applications we will put the applications that will be installed, okay. So these are the two sections that will work now, and in the details we'll identify the task sequence that will run. So we can see these are all variables that can be used as an answer file, okay. Now we need to add light touch applications. Now we need to add applications that will be installed automatically, okay. So now we need to add, for example, the registry edits for the server. We have discussed all of these applications before. We need to add, for example, maybe for example, convert to data center, okay. We need to add for example, maybe big info or start customization for the server, okay. Okay, and let's again add big info. Anyway, big info, it is already installed from the task sequence. It is already there, okay. But you can add any application you need. So now you can choose any application to be installed automatically, okay. So for example, maybe you can add the notepad++ open shell, okay. So we have everything here added. We need to add the computer name here in the details section, and to also uh, identify the task sequence, or put the task sequence name that will be used. Here I'm going to the server task sequence and get this task sequence name. Here it is. This is the task sequence name, okay. But before that I need to remove a couple of steps here. For example, I don't need to have the registry. For example, here let's see, first of all you need to make sure that install multiple applications are selected if you need to choose from different applications manually if you are not using the zero touch installation process. We have discussed this before. Anyway, so here I am trying to remove not the server tweaks. We can remove the registry edits. So this was already in the database, so I need to remove this registry edits. I will remove it, okay, and install big info. I will remove both and add it through the database, okay. So now we can remove registry tweaks. This is added. We have added it from a couple of seconds. You can remove it because it will be installed through the MDT database. Now we can go to the applications. We can see here I have already registry edits, and I will add big info. So I will put it there and remove it from the task itself, okay. So I apply and okay. Remember, we didn't put the computer name. Still we need to put the computer name. So we can go add the computer name that will be given to this MAC address, and the task that will be applied to this PC, okay. So now we can cancel. So here what I'm trying to say, here I'm trying to get the name. So here I have already some pre-stages or pre-staged servers or pre-staged server computer objects, okay, in the Active Directory. So I need to get one of these names and put it in my database. So let me show you all. Here I am accessing my primary domain controller and see one of the pre-staged computer objects, which is a server. I will get it and get this name and put it in my database, okay. So here if we can go further, the task, okay, the task name here, this is the task name, okay. We will take it and put it in the database, and this is where the OU, where this server will join, or where this server will reside. So if it join in the domain, we have already this in the task, on the server task sequence, it should go to a certain location, okay. So here I'm going to this location and get the computer name. Just wait for a moment. Oh, this is my admin console. So here we have the mainframes, or we have my Skynet HQ. If you go to the Active Directory database, the location where the servers will join the domain, if you go there, okay, and here is the Skynet HQ, and here is the mainframes, okay. This was listed in the custom setting of TINI, and then these are all pre-staged computers. I will take one of them and put it in my database. Okay, so for example, Skynet HQ MF100. This will be the PC that will use it as a test. So it is already in the OU. I need to take it and here is SF100. So I will take it and copy it, and this will be the name that will be given to our test server. Okay, so we'll copy it. Okay, wait for a moment. Here you go, this is the name. We'll copy it and then put it in the database. So I'll go to my MDT server. Here you go, and then we'll go to the computers, or we go to the server test, and then go to the details. You can see a lot of details can be added. You can add everything here. Okay, so we'll go to the section of the computer. If you can go down further, you can see here there is a lot of things that can be added. Disk setting, okay, display setting, DNS server setting. We will, this is the domain. Okay, this the section related to the domain. This is the computer name. So here it's not, so not to get confused. Here OSD computer name, this the new computer name is a name to assign to the computer. This is not the computer name. This is the real computer name. Okay, because this is not the correct one. Okay, and we can see here there is a lot of settings that can be used. Okay, you can use all of this setting to your advantage. And by the way, this setting you can this is the graphical interface. This is like the custom setting.ini, but this in a graphical interface. All of these can be configured in the custom setting.ini. Okay, but you will type it in a text format. This can be done in a graphical interface through the MDT database. So this is basically the difference between both. So you can find some setting in the custom setting.ini are repeated here. Okay, so this is, you can use both ways, or both ways to create an answer file. You can create an answer file through the custom setting.ini, or a custom answer file through the MDT database, but with the graphical interface. Okay, so here we'll type the name, and then we need here I give it 101. Okay, because there is also something here. If the PC is already in or it is already as an object in the Active Directory, if it is already there, the task sequence will fail because it needs to create the computer objects. It will not just join the PC to the domain and like it. No, it needs to create the object. So you need to make sure that the object is not created. Okay, so this is, you cannot make a pre-stage. You can only specify for him the location to join the PC to the domain, or the folder in the Active Directory that it will move it to, but you should not pre-stage it. Okay, so let's wait and see, or let's continue. Here we will go to the section of, if we go further, we will see a section called task ID. Let me get a little bit further. Here there is a section called task sequence ID. Okay, if you go further down here, skip not skip task sequence, I think in the section of skip task sequence here, or no, there is something called task sequence ID. If we go further, let me wait for a moment. Here is the task sequence ID. Okay, so here we'll put task sequence ID to automate the light touch installation. So we need to put task sequence ID in this section. Okay, so I need to get the task sequence name and put it in this section. Apply and OK. So I'll go to the deployment share and properties and get the task sequence ID, which is this one. Copy it and put it in the database. So by filling this info, we are fully automating the process of the deployment. Okay. So you go to the computer and then double click on it and then details. Then we go to the task sequence ID. It is in the section of miscellaneous. It is in the miscellaneous section, the task sequence ID, and then apply and OK. And then we need to update our deployment share folder. Okay, so I'm just here. I'm double checking upon the task sequence ID. So here you go. We need to double check. Here is the details, and we go to the miscellaneous section. So you can see here the process is a little bit not complex, but it needs some time to be configured. Okay, so now we have everything perfect. Now we need to update our folder or update our deployment share folder. But before that, I think we need I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I am revising. This is the resolution. We can see all of these sections appeared in the database. Okay, so I think here I'm just revising the setting. Okay, so I think we will update our deployment share. Yes, update deployment share folder, and then we will optimize the boot image. Okay, next, and then next. If there is any changes in the boot image, we need to update it in the WDS. Okay, so let's wait. There is no change, so we don't need to replace the boot image in the WDS. So I think now everything is up and running. We need to see the deployment process itself, or the zero touch installation process. So here I will remove the registry edits because it is already added in the database, and the big info. This to make sure or to assure you or the convert also, it is already added in the database in the application section, and the big info. All of these are added in the database in the application tab. Okay, so here we are making sure, okay, this is disk number 0, this is on port 0, and this is number 1. Okay, so these are on port 0 and port 1. Okay, this we have already done in the virtual machine. Okay, so again we are insisting on if you need to have or you have the choice to choose from certain applications, you need to install or to select install multiple applications if you are not automating the process. Okay, if you need the application window to appear and to give you the choice to choose installation of some programs, you need to have install application step added and to choose install multiple applications. Now I'm just here again updating my deployment share folder. So I think everything now is up and running. We need to see our power on our virtual machine and see the deployment process. But here just we are revising everything and see if we have anything missing. So I think everything is up and running. If there is anything missing, I think no, we have everything configured. Let's see if we have anything missed here. I think no, we can go further. So I think I now will shut down the server, I think. So yes, I am shutting down the server, and then this concludes, or this is the end of our video. Until the upcoming video, we will see the deployment or the zero touch installation process in action. Hope this video is informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.